Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm here with Sean. He is an old friend who lives, or do you want me to call you Sean or Vietnam or what
Yeah,
would you
you can
like
call
to
me
be called?
whatever you like. I'm
And,
pretty.
and did you ever settle upon a name for your podcast?
No, man. It's been unnamed, unlisted. It's pretty easy to just put that because like a name is so hard, and I feel like it's like an ego trip if I put like Sean's podcast or Vit's podcast. So
I mean, I think it's good to have like the personal brand aspect of it. I just think it depends on what you're going for. I was thinking about calling this one Modern Savage or Do Cool Shit Podcast. I have no idea though. But we'll record this and then I'll probably get a couple recorded before I upload any. But yeah, so we're talking with Sean. We're today we're talking about life in Asia. And let's just give a little bit of background. How long have you been in Vietnam and what brought you here?
okay, that seems like a pretty straightforward question. I've been back since 2016. What brought me back? There's a long answer and a short answer. Which one would you? Which one do you want to hear?
Let's go with the long answer.
Okay. Okay, let's start with the long answer. Um, I was born here originally, and
Hmm.
I spent most of my life in the States, California, Southern California to be exact. And initially, when I was over there, I didn't feel like going back. Every time my parents had to drag me back. I used to play American football, so in the summertime, I'd be like, okay, I want to train. I want to up my skill. I want to get ready for the season, be in the gym. And whenever my parents said, "Oh, we got to go back to Vietnam," I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna do it. There's nothing there for me." But as I grew older, the wiser you are. I traveled to Korea to work, and I felt a calling to come back here um, in the summertime or during Lunar New Year. So every time I came back, because I guess it's when you're going with your family back when you were young, you're kind of like constrained and they force you to do and go wherever they want. Whereas this time, like I'm out on my own. I can travel, I can explore, I can talk to people, gain from the experiences. And so when I came back, it was just so fulfilling and eye-opening to see like the changes from the 90s, which was initially when first came back to the early 2000s. And then now in 2024, it's like night and day.
Dude, it's
And
crazy. Crazy how much has changed. Even since I've been in Vietnam for 9 years, and the amount of change is astounding. Um, and it's like unstoppable, right? It's just like this unstoppable force of change. Whereas, I'm from a smaller city in the United States, so I go back and I'm like, oh, there's a new fast food restaurant. Like it's like the smallest little stuff that changes. I'll notice it, but it's nothing compared to here. Just the rapid development of Vietnam over the last decade and even before that in the 90s, obviously. So how old were you whenever you first went to the United States?
so I was initially a boat person. So we escaped. It's public knowledge, so I'm not gonna hide it. We ran through the jungles, hiding. We got on a small boat that leaked. Had pirated attacks. We lost gold, et cetera, et cetera. That's a sad story. Maybe not get into that, but yeah, I was about three. Surprisingly, I remember most of this stuff. But
Wow.
just to kind of like unpack a little bit more about why I came back. I hear a lot of like VQs, which is what we call Vietnamese abroad, and a lot of them are coming back nowadays. A lot. I mean,
Hmm.
like, if you go into the forums for the Vietnamese abroad, a lot of them are like sending anonymous posts. There's a lot of more traffic and questions and inquiries about taxes, banking, housing, et cetera, et cetera. So
Okay.
I feel like I'm not the only one that has a calling to come back. And so
Hmm.
that's a very big thing, like back in the days, there would be a lot of fake marriages. for Vietnamese who want to go, to the West, but the currents are changing. So it's actually the opposite now. You see a lot of Caucasians, Easterners, I mean, like Eastern Europeaners that want to stay in Vietnam, and they actually pay Vietnamese people to fake marriage them so they can stay longer now.
Oh, that's
But I
crazy.
digress.
I mean, you got enough riz, you can just get the real marriage. But but I guess I guess with the fake marriage, there's a little bit less obligation there. It's you pay the money and then you don't have to do any of the other responsibilities, which is probably nice. Ah, interesting. So and then you've been back. So you went to Korea and then you came back to Vietnam and what was your initial, like you said you had been back with your parents, but then you came back by yourself. How was it different for you when you did that?
Hmm. So like I mentioned before, when you go as a kid, you're not as adventurous. You're not discovering and you're not outgoing. So as a kid, like stereotypical Asian, we're the what do you call that? The standard, the gold standard for minorities.
Hmm.
We're taught to be quiet and keep to ourselves. So when I went with my parents, it was just stay at home, and whenever we went out, we went out together. But as I grew up, I kind of grew out of my shell, and I started to be more uh, extrovert, more talkative, just curious about a lot of people. Um, I made plenty of friends here, just like out of the blue, just seeing them at the cafe on the street, and I'd just be curious. I say, "What's up with that? What are you doing? Hey, I'm Sean," And sometimes, of course, you get rejected, but sometimes you meet cool people, and I've met a couple of people that I've known for more than a decade. Um,
Nice.
just being open-minded and stuff. But yeah, the biggest difference I would say, like the country's changed, and since coming back here, like the generational shift is huge. Like most, if you look at the population distribution of Vietnam, it's mostly young people, um, and the large majority of them know nothing about the war. Whereas, like if you talk to a lot of overseas, there's sort of a bit of a bitter, like they can't let go of the past kind of mindset. But here, I feel like it's a little bit more open-minded, and they don't care
Hmm.
too much about geopolitical or history. So those
No
scars
problem.
are not as deep. So
Yeah.
in the young people, they're just more cooler. And just to go a little bit more about the reason why I come back here is it's like it feels like I'm on a long 20, 30 year study abroad. You know, Usually you study abroad just a couple of years in college, but I feel like I've got all this decades of experience in the West, and so it feels like okay, I can come back with that experience, with that mindset, and hopefully put a little bit of a dent into the new generation and influence them in a positive way.
Nice. And then that kind of brings me into what I want to talk about next is I guess we'll introduce it. What are you doing in Vietnam today?
Right. So last year I just opened up my own language center. It's called Skills School. School spelled with SK. So SK.
Oh, you SKOOL?
Yeah.
You should sue Alex Ramosi for copyright infringement, man.
All right. Really? What does he have?
Yeah,
I don't know.
he launched a whole website called School,
Oh,
spelled that same way, SKOOL, and it's like an app. It's more or less an app for communities and kind of paid tiered communities, more or less. Like if you have like a course or something like that, or you're an influencer and you want to bring people into your funnel at like a low level, get them on the the $5 a month sort of plan,
wow.
get them into your school community, and then you probably upsell them. But it sounds like you're doing something a little bit different. And then how
Well,
would you
I'm
describe?
sure. I'm sure if I put Louis Vuitton school, I still won't get sued. So Vietnam has very lax copyright and trade
That
infringement.
is that is true. Yeah. Well, how would you describe this? Like you do education in Vietnam, and for people who aren't aware, Um, Asians, if you think Asians in America are good at math and good at school, you've never seen nothing because in Asia, they actually go to school 6 days a week, oftentimes 5.5, 6 days a week. Um, After school, they don't do normal like sports or just kind of hang out with their friends. They usually go to extra classes, either for a subject that they're lacking in or for a subject that they really want to excel in, usually math, science, English, something like that. So, how would you describe the scholastic culture in Vietnam?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a saying I heard in Korea, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I believe it. So the way people think about education in the East, there's a hierarchy as far as what the Koreans think about in terms of respect. So number one is Lord Buddha. Second is not Jesus, it's not even your parents, it's your teacher.
Mm.
So when I heard that for the first time, I was like, what? What's going on? Like, in the West, we have a saying, those who do, do, and those who can't inevitably teach. But
Mm.
here, education is put on a higher pedestal. It's so deeply, deeply respected. And when I came here, I was, I'm gonna be honest, like I was engineer initially. I studied engineering, industrial engineering, Cal Poly, just a little bit of a shout out to my school. But engineering is very prestigious in the States, and teaching is not. So when people ask me like, "What do you do?" I just like kind of like murmur and say like, "Oh, I'm a teacher," you know. But here, like I said, you're put up in a higher esteem, and the word like in Korean it's something, and in Vietnamese is Thai, and those two words mean more than just the word teacher. It means master. It means mentor, guidance counselor. Like all those encompass this one word. So it's a little bit of a different uh, viewpoint than in the West. Um, so what was your initial question again?
I guess describe like the scholastic culture in Vietnam and Asia, just generally like kind of the way people approach studying, the way they approach learning, the importance they put on education, the time they devote to it, those little things.
Right. So yeah, that's what I was going to connect to. So since the reason why teachers or masters or the Eastern form of teacher is so highly regarded is because they put so much impetus on your scholastic pursuits. Um, they believe that almost anything requires an education, and you can almost do anything with that education. Uh, I guess in the West, we would think like, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think in the West we're more uh, entrepreneurial. Um, a lot of the bigger founders, creators, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon, like these types of people, they don't really go to college to be these amazing inventors, builders. But in the East, case in point, like in Korea, you have this one test you take after high school, and that one score you get is like a scarlet letter, like it stays with you throughout your life. There's no way to expunge it. It's gonna go with you wherever you go, how high up the corporate ladder you go. And so if you get a bad score, that one and only time you have a chance to take it, a lot of people unfortunately commit suicide. And so that's how you know how big scholastic pursuit is in the East.
Yeah, and I my impression was that it's almost seen as like an egalitarian thing as well, because it doesn't really matter like who you are, who your family is, how much money they have. Everybody is taking this test. And that score is going to determine a lot about what happens in the rest of your life, not necessarily who you are, who your dad is, or I mean, I'm sure that matters too. If you get a bad score, they'll send you to a school in the United States, they'll send you to Columbia or something like that. Um, but nonetheless, like for many people in Vietnam, they see education as like the ticket to improve their life, and my opinion was in the West, people value education, but it's a little bit more cynical. It's like, oh, it's just a piece of paper. Get the piece of paper that you need, and then you can use that to do other things. But you need this piece of paper first. Um, so it's somewhat valued, but in a somewhat cynical way compared to Vietnam, where people here earnestly believe like, this knowledge will help you. Also, the amount of respect that teachers get in Vietnam, just generally speaking, like there's none of the unruliness. I mean, they're kids, right? They're gonna run around, they're gonna scream, but it's not. Uh, I don't know how to describe schools in America. I don't know how to describe it. Zoo, open air prison, uh, daycare for juvenile delinquents. Like I went to a very bad high school, and it was to the point where like my school, it was so easy to graduate that I graduated in 2.5 years just because I didn't cut school very rarely. I just went to the classes, did my homework, took the tests. As long as you didn't fail any classes, you could graduate in 2.5 years. I don't know if I doubt that's the case. I doubt anybody's graduating 2.5 years early. And nobody's skipping grades for the most part. You're still going to all the grades. It's just much tougher and much more important here. And like I said, that the tests are usually standardized. Everybody's taking the exact same test. And I mean, that's just kind of it. Parents really pound into their kids like, you have to be respectful. You are going to do your homework. We will take away privileges if you don't. And I think that's changing to some extent. I think it's more like a function just of like wealth and prosperity. People tend to become softer, a little bit more self-entitled. But 5, 10 years ago, you would never get a parent taking the side of their child over a teacher. Never happens. I mean, sometimes it does now because people are a little bit softer with their kids. But whenever I first got here, it was like, and I mean, I have kids. They'll show up with bruises on the side of their face. It's pretty obvious their dad smacked them, and it's not like high school kids either. These are like primary school students.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that's the best way to raise a kid. I'm just saying that things are a little bit different here, and children are expected to behave and go to school and take it somewhat seriously, which is a very welcome, nice break if you are in education. Obviously, I teach as well. Um, so, kind of going off that,
Just
what
real,
made
real
you?
quick, you were talking about corporal punishment. In like this was literally a month before I got to Korea. They over there they have like a government issue standardized ruler. It's gotta be like this long, no longer. And with this instrument, the government of Korea gave the okay for any teachers to whack their kids with this standardized
That's cool.
government issue. So yeah, corporal punishment even in schools is like in Asia, it's very much uh, it's like an open secret, you know. I don't know. Well, how do you feel? Do you feel like that would be a good thing or no, not so much?
I feel like that is not only a good thing, but the most natural thing.
Right.
Because the reality is, like, for the first 10 years of your life, most of the people that you encounter can literally just pick you up and put you where they want you. Like, hey, I don't want you here. I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to move you. And
Huh.
as a small child, you're just kind of like, okay, people can force me to do what they want me to do. I can either go along with it, be a little angel, and people will be nice to me, or I can be like a little shithead about it and scream and kick and all this stuff, and then I just get rough housed even more, and then people are a little bit more rough to me. They like me less. So I think that's the completely natural thing. I think it's almost unnatural whenever you treat like a 5-year-old as if they're your equal and you're trying to rationally discuss things with them. And that's good to do. It's like, you sometimes you should sit little kids down and be like, hey, I know you like to punch around, but you can't hit me in the dick for this reason. Like this is not the right thing to do. You can punch me anywhere else. We can have fun. Just don't punch me in the dick.
Right.
And then he explained to them why. You don't want to just beat the kid whenever he does something wrong. Sometimes you got to explain stuff. But I think generally speaking, like um, the whole like I'm gonna treat the kid as if they're this rational agent. When they're 5, 6 years old. All right, and
Uh,
we're back. Okay, so we were talking about kind of the scholastic culture in Vietnam, how it's different. Is there anything I've noticed that students are much more well behaved, parents are much more I wouldn't say on the side of the teacher. The parents are on the side of their children getting a quality education that will help them in the future. Is there anything that you've noticed comparing the United States to Vietnam to Korea since you have experience with all three?
okay, that's a kind of a loaded question. Um, I'll try to I'll try to partake. Um, no, I think to be frankly honest, like all three have their good and bad issues. Um, I think it comes down more to a parenting thing. Um, we're as educated, we're there's a lot of stuff that's placed on our shoulders that I think it's a little unfair. Um,
Mm.
we get them, you know, depends. If I was in an international school, so I did get them for longer periods. But we're not, we don't have the right or the freedom to discipline them, like as you mentioned, right? Like we don't have a nice little ruler to whack them with. Um, and so it's very hard to teach a kid when they don't have just a foundation as a good human. And I put most of that responsibility, on the parents. So whenever the kids are like really well behaved, um, just calm, smart, creative, I put all of that on the parents. Like you did all the work, not me, right? And at the same time, if your kid is like a wild animal, has no chill, just run around, does what he or she wants, uh, emotionally not constrained, then that's on the parents too. And so, I mean, if you look at in America, inner city, the problem is, mostly a lack of a two-parent household, right? Over here, it's more or less so that like the parents are often work too much, so they are unable or unwilling to discipline or be that, you know, North Star to the ship, to the kids' ship. And so, yeah, I can't really paint a wide brush on all the cohorts of America, Korea, and Vietnam. Yeah. But like here, education is much more important. I would say I can clearly, for sure, say that than in America. But as far as like what the problems are with the education system and the kids in general, uh, I think the responsibility and the praise goes back to the parents.
I mean, I kind of agree, but I think it's very easy to fuck a kid up and very difficult to raise a good kid, if that makes sense. Like, and sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, right? Like, kids have personalities. Um, it's very apparent at like age 2, 3, 4 that kids have independent personalities that are not just like a blank slate. Oh, somebody influenced them to be this way. No, it's genetic. They have a genetic predisposition to behave a certain way. Some kids are quiet, some kids are loud, some kids have absolutely no fear, some kids are afraid of everything, and you can see this very, very young. And I think not every case where there's I guess a bad kid or I would say a kid that's difficult to handle. Not necessarily a bad kid, but a child that's difficult to teach, difficult to handle. It's not necessarily always the parent's fault. I'm sure as a teacher, you occasionally get a student where at a certain point you're just like, fuck it, I'm tired of telling this kid to sit down. I'm tired of trying to punish him. I don't care anymore. Just as long as he's not disrupting the rest of the class, he's not making my job too hard. I'm just gonna let him do whatever he's gonna do. And I would imagine that's what happens with a lot of parents too, where eventually, and as teachers, you get to go home at the end of the day and like the kids go away. Whereas with if you're a parent, like that kid isn't going anywhere. It's really easy to discipline a child one time. It's very difficult to discipline them 20 times a day, every single day for years and years and years. And eventually, probably people are just like, all right, I don't have the energy to tell this kid to shut up right now. I'm just going to let him do what he's going to do. So I imagine
By the
that's
way,
what
your
happens with this.
background looks like energy is flowing from you right
Yeah,
now.
I know I'm a powerful person. Yeah, that's
You
what
look like the baby
yeah,
Jesus or Buddha
bodying
one of
square.
those
Yeah,
styles right now.
yeah,
Wow.
nice sunburst. Yeah, no,
Perfect
man.
timing, right? But anyway,
Definitely.
yeah. No, just leave it there. That's so cool, man.
I have to hold my computer to
Yeah,
keep
you
it
keep
like
your head
this.
right there, dude.
Let
You be
me
a
let me
holy
see
man.
if I can. I bet I can find a stool. I got some plastic stools here. I should have done this right from the beginning.
Yeah, no worries, man.
And then, so you mentioned you started your own kind of education center. What prompted you to do that as opposed to just teaching for an international school or whatnot?
Sure. I'll answer that question and I'll relate it to what you just said a minute ago. So we have a saying. It requires a village to raise a kid. So um, the parent can't do it alone, and obviously the teachers can't do it alone. But just two thoughts. Firstly, it's different from the point of view of like someone like yourself who's at a public institution, rather than me, which is like the owner of my place, right? So I definitely have admiration for any education. Like you put in a rough spot. I mean, I was the same thing, you know. When I did my first gig in Korea, I literally had nobody. Like they're like, here you go. They pushed me in, and there was like a 20 something second graders that didn't know how to speak English, and I didn't know how to speak Korean. And I was put through the fires. It's like looking back, and
Jesus.
I have no idea how I survived. So
Mm.
kudos to you guys and everyone that's got to deal with all this stuff. But my situation is different. So because I don't know, I guess I like to think of myself as very disciplined, like kind of military style, and so I teach in the same manner, right? And at first, when I teach in this like reciprocating energy style, where like if you give me negative energy, I'm gonna reciprocate it back. You give me positive energy, I'll do the same. You know, I'm not always an asshole, but I'm not always like a pushover, right? And when I did this, like a lot of the other coworkers, you know, whether it be Korean, American, Canadian, Vietnamese, they didn't like that. They thought like I was like a hothead and that sort. But actually, like um, my kids, they had my back. They really understood what I was doing, and they understood like, okay, this bald asshole who's always yelling at us. Wow, he's yelling at us because he cares. He's keeping us accountable because he cares. The other the other people would just be like, oh, every Friday we'll have like a snack party, and I'm like, and this our teacher, Mr. Pham, would be like, now we got to keep going. You know, we got to at least learn something every Friday. We can't just like you know dick around and do whatever, speaking Korean, speaking Vietnamese. That's not going to help us for the future. And I was very surprised to hear them say that. Um, you know, we don't need people to validate us, you know. But when when it comes to that, it feels damn good, right? So there was a long story short. I had an issue with the school, the principal, mainly the vice principal, and shockingly, and I was like really touched by this. My kids, they all went to bat for me. You know, it was basically an issue.
Nice.
Misunderstood. Yeah.
So the school had an issue with the way you were teaching. What was like? Was there a specific incident or?
Yeah, I guess I can get into it because it's all in the past now. I basically told people, I told them like people use in specifically not hard drugs, specifically cigarettes, tobacco, and alcohol.
In your school?
Yeah. So
You're talking about
I
students.
yeah. So the students asked me about this. So it wasn't like part of the lesson plan. And I told them like just straight up, people who are writers, um, I forgot one of the most famous American writers. He used to be half drunk.
Uh, Hemingway.
Hemingway. There you go. Hemingway. Um, People smoke to chill, to relax and get these ideas. So I just merely told them that
Told your
this,
students that.
huh?
You
Yeah,
told
yeah,
your
yeah,
students.
yeah. They asked.
Okay,
No, I'll be honest. I didn't bring it up, but they asked, so I told
gotcha.
them like this is what happens. So they none of them ratted on me, right? What happened was like they were, I believe they had like a writing assignment, and one of the kids mentioned this as one of the points of her thing. It wasn't like Mr. Pham said this, he's evil or he's good, whatever. And so they misinterpreted it as like me pushing tobacco and alcohol on the kids. And literally all of them went to the vice principal's office and defended me. And at the time, I didn't give a crap because I was out the door. But I told them I would resign after the year before this incident, meaning that I didn't want to extend, right? So I didn't care.
Yeah,
But they all went up to bat for me, 20 something kids, and they're like, can we just stay for one more week and blah blah blah. And they all cried. They're like, this is so unfair, Mr. Pham. Anyway, so that was very touching to me. So
I
it
bet.
kind of validated what my style was. And so, um, long story short, it was a long story, but that's one of the reasons why I went out and did my own thing. It's like, look, I could do it better. I could do it high quality. I could do it in a shorter amount of time. I could do it where there's I would say, a deep connection with the student rather than just being a math teacher pushing information down your throat and you forgetting it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what made me go independent. And so I'm so grateful I got the opportunity to do it. And um, just having sovereignty, dominion over your own classroom. I think that's what makes me different. It's just like I I tell people like this is a not a automatic in. Like you don't get privilege admission into my place. No, right? You have me, you have the people who are here already, and we need to approve. It's an exclusive club, right? And so our website is like the skillschool.vip. So it's
Okay, nice.
for the exclusive only. And I guess to answer your question, that's why I feel like um, I can have more of a saying. Like, you know what? It takes a village to raise your kid, mommy and daddy of my student. And if you're not willing to put in the time and support and work together as a tribe to do it, then I got no shot of doing it by myself. And so I tell them frankly, that's one of the conditions I have for admittance.
Nice.
So
And
that
what's
kind of
it been?
helped out with the behavior issues. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
you definitely have to do some expectation management, right? I have a class of like 5, 6 year olds, and the craziest kid in the class, absolutely wild kid. I was always like screaming skibbity toilet and stuff like that. But his mom's a teacher, and I'm like, look, your kid's screaming to my class, causing all sorts of trouble. And she's like, spank him. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, spank him. I was like, okay, I will. And now he gets spanked quite a bit. But I've kind of had like a similar experience to you where being a strict teacher gets you a lot more respect and admiration from the students
Right.
than being a pushover. Because if you're a pushover, there's like, well, why are we here? We're not really learning anything. We're just listening to fucking the Hello song or, whatever time wasting activity student or teachers will do. versus, actually getting them to sit down and do the work. They actually feel like there's a reason that they're there. There's things they have to do, and they respect it a little bit more. Um, I definitely find that to be the case. I mean, I definitely, we were talking about the ruler, the standardized ruler in Korea. I use a pin, and I hit students with a pin quite often, usually in the head. Get to work, paper, take it out,
Wow.
stuff like that. And I mean, obviously, like
Do you leave pen marks on the head?
I did get in trouble one time because I did leave a bruise on a kid's head.
Oh, not
Uh,
just the ink. Well, man, you should
I,
never.
I they called me about it later on. They're like, this kid has a mark. His mom is mad. I'm like, a mark? What are you talking about? How do you get a mark from a pin? It's like a big pin. How does that even work? But I did see him the next day, and he definitely did have like a little pin shaped bruise
He
right
bruises
there. But
easy.
to my defense, he was run. I told him to sit down, and instead of sitting down, he decided to run one way, and I had that pin and I flicked him the other way. So he kind of collided into the bin. And he spent the rest of the class crying. He's like a fifth grader, a little bit of autism. And, I heard the parents were mad or the mom was mad. I'm like, look, you got a fifth grade son who cries whenever he gets hit in the head with a pin. That sounds like a bigger problem to me. Like his emotional response to that is an issue. Me hitting him in the head with a pin, yeah, I can see why you'd get upset with that. That said, I've hit hundreds of children in the head with a pin. None of them have cried before. But kind of going back to what we were saying, now that kid is the one of the best kids in the class, and still has his own weird personality, a little bit of autism, doesn't like to really associate with the other kids, but he sits down, he does the work. If he ever has any problems, he raises his hand, teacher, I don't understand this. Super sweet kid now. And all it took was that one time of me letting him know in the most visceral way possible that no, I'm not going to have you running around screaming, not going to have you disrupting my class. I always tell my students, like, you don't have to pay attention to me. That's fine. But read a book, draw, do something else. Don't run around and scream and disrupt the other students because I'm not going to tolerate it. And I found that, yeah, that's definitely gets the admiration of the students more than just being nice and like sucking up to them and like placating their feelings in every moment. Um, yeah, and I was going to ask next, kind of related to your center, how has it been going? Like, what was some of the challenges in setting up? What was it like starting and stuff like that?
Okay, that's a good question. Let me think about that. Starting a business, like uh, getting incorporated, the paperwork's not so bad. It will take you a couple months, but it will break you down for sure. Like the first 6 months to a year. I don't know about Vietnam, but like in America, it's like 9 out of 10 businesses fail. There's a reason for this. Um, you have to be very, very resilient and be anti-fragile, right? Kind of connecting to the kids, but you there will be, there's sleepless nights because as a small business owner, right? It's different because I come from a W-2, which means like basically you're a worker in a corporation or like a teacher under international school, public school, right? And so the idea that your bank account balance always goes up every month is something I took for granted, right? As a small business owner, you're lucky if you break even your first year. You're gonna pay fees after fees, accountants, taxes, business license, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, there was a lot of sleepless nights. I was stressed out. Um, yeah, it was just tough, because like just looking at my bank account, it's like, well, you just keep getting a loss.
What were some of the
But
things you've learned along the way?
yeah, it's just like just look at your runway. The runway just means like how many months you have before you basically go bankrupt. And I was looking at my runway, I was like, damn, I put all my savings into this. It's gonna be like a few months left, and I'm gonna be basically homeless, right? Um, but it just it was a dark time, and I'm really happy I got through it because now I'm in a much better place, much more better place. And it's I know it's a cliche, you know, you watch all these like motivational people on YouTube or any of these like guys, Tony Robbins, right? Who said like do the work, go through the hard stuff, and it's actually true. Like when you do the work and you go through all that grind, it's just like the universe has a way of returning it back to you 10 times more, you know? And you become like, you think about delayed gratification, like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to go out tonight. I'm just going to edit this marketing video or make some calls to potential clients, you know, things like that. It's just, okay, I got to do the work, you know, we can push back drinking, going out any other day, you know? So yeah, that's, you know, it's a lot of the stuff that they say is actually true, what you hear online, especially from the people who actually did honest work and not just did some crypto pump and dump or anything that's dishonest, you know, or some scam.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love hearing people who got rich on Bitcoin telling me about money and work ethic. That's always really fun.
But yeah,
You know,
so yeah,
I'm happy that people make money, but it's always funny whenever people who made money that way, doing absolutely zero work, kind of have a chip on their shoulder about it. Where it's like, bro, you won the lottery. Um, you had a little bit of cash, you put it in the right spot, and I'm happy for you. I'm happy you got that money, but I don't really need the attitude, like sort of thing.
yeah, but
Yeah,
there's a funny there's a short statistic where it's like only 30% of people that even invested in Bitcoin netted a profit. So if you
oh, I
talk
believe
about
that.
any of the other shit coins, there are scams, Ponzi scheme.
Well, the whole, you know,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
nothing
no,
behind
it
a
was that.
Bitcoin that makes it valuable, like at all. It's Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do
People
you
get very
remember Beanie
frosty.
Baby? Do you remember Beanie Babies from the '90s?
Oh yeah, yeah, Beanie Babies. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
What about them?
exact same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Was
Kind
it
of
there was a
speculation.
Beanie Baby bubble?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Beanie
Kind of
Baby
hoping
bubble.
that the price keeps on going up and people
Yeah.
don't start selling too fast. Um, but back to kind of the discussion on education.
Yeah.
Um, I guess what have you learned about besides just running a business? What have you learned about teaching in that time?
I love teaching. Man, like I guess for me, there's a lot of stuff I learned. We talk about disciplining or having that trust between you and your students. I think that's first. You know, it goes back to the CELTA, which is like this Cambridge BS accreditation. It's like a 1 month hell month, $2,000, $3,000. But anyway,
Yeah,
the
it's kind
first
of the
lesson
standard of
taught, yeah, the first lesson they told us was like teaching is 50% like the logistics, the how can I say the technical aspect of it, and the other 50% is relationship. And after that first lesson, there was nothing taught about the first part. I'm sorry, nothing taught about the relationship part, and everything was all technical and technique,
hmm,
right? And what I found out, and I still believe it is, it's actually not even that. It's 99% relationship, right? When you have someone that has unwavering loyalty and respect for the teacher, the kids will do anything, whether it's the right technique or not, right? If they feel like
hmm,
you got their back, then you tell them to jump and they say, how high, right? Whereas if you just focus on the technique and the technical aspect, the grammar, the the phonetics and all that stuff, and they don't respect you at least, then nothing's going to work out. So there's a lot of things I've learned, but I think that's the most important is that unless you have their respect and you respect them back. Yeah, that's a good point actually. If you hate the kid, and I'm sure I still do sometimes, my kids, even though I vetted them, and sometimes I'm known them for years. If you just have a negative, how can I say it, backdrop of one specific person, right? It's kind of hard for you to really care about them, to put their best interests at heart when you teach them, when you guide them.
Mm.
And so that's why I say like you gotta like the person you're mentoring or coaching or teaching. And so if you don't fix that disciplinary issue about them, case in point, like for example, if the kid is a crybaby, right? And unless you don't teach them to be anti-fragile, or at least like uh, let it uh, just brush it off their shoulder, and then learn how to receive that criticism or that bullying, and then like reciprocate it and throw it back at them, right? If you don't teach that kid to be better and stronger and thick skin, then you kind of like say like, oh man, this kid is just a weakly, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then you don't feel like you want to put in your best effort. And so that's kind of the part of a relationship. It's like they gotta you gotta like them and they gotta like you, right? At the core of it.
And what happens if you have a student that you don't like? What do you do to remedy that situation?
Yeah, so I gotta have like I mentioned before, the parents gotta I vet the parents too, right? So the first thing I do is like, okay, is this inherently the kid's issue or the parental issue? And so I'm giving away a secret, and the parents might know if they actually see this, but I actually go to their house, right? So it's kind of weird in Vietnam. They do the same thing to me and to a lot of parents. It's like they invite you over to drink. Now I don't know if this is like subconsciously or they have like a set goal in mind where like they try to get you drunk to see what you're about, right?
Mm.
And my my uncle used to tell me like you're only honest in two states of mind: when you're angry and when you're drunk, right? And so they when they get me over to the house, they try to like, oh, you're not leaving until you're drunk, in a fun way. So they vet me that way, but I'm in their household. I'm seeing how the mother, the father, and the kids, this kind of matrix, how they interact with each other and see how they flow too. So when I see that, okay, there's disrespect or lack of respect for the parents from the kids' point of view, then I go, okay, red flag, right? But if I feel like okay, they seem like a good structured family, there just might be some kind of edge cases out there for this one kid, then I'll be like more likely to support and put in my best effort to develop their kids.
Hmm. Interesting. And that kind of moving on to one of the last topics I wanted to talk about is the notion of a good teacher. What do you think makes a good teacher? What are some like I guess maybe the tactics or strategies or mindsets that you try to implement in your own practice to make your the time you spend with the children more effective and more beneficial for them?
Hmm. Yeah, what makes a good teacher? Right. So, like I said a minute ago, like in Korea, a teacher is second only to Buddha. And one of the reasons I didn't mention it yet, I don't think, is that because it's so hard to find a truly good master teacher, coach, counselor on one, right? Um, there's another word in Vietnam. It's called Yao Viên, and this means basically a Yao means education, and Viên means like employee. I don't know how to. That's it. But it's not really a true master or Thai, right? So you have people like I would say who are Yao Vian, which basically push out a subject that doesn't take too much mastery to do. So I'm not bagging on chemistry or math teacher, but when you're doing calculus, even at the highest, you're not really teaching them anything. You're just basically regurgitating a solution on the board, and then the kids kind of just copy it down, right? That's all you're doing. There's no really skill into it. So that's a Yabian. And that's why I think like as a true well-rounded teacher, um, it's such a rarity to find someone like that as a parent, right? And so that's why the scarcity aspect of it is why I think in the East they find it truly, truly lucky and fortunate if you can find one for your kids. Whereas like in America, it's just like I would say part of it is here too. You know, like they need to find enough supply of teachers to teach or take care of the kids, and so they lower the bar. The
You're saying they lowered the bar in Vietnam or in the US?
I think everywhere because like you need like how are you going to educate the whole cohort of kids, right?
Mm.
There's not enough good teachers, right? And so that's why there's issues. I mean, we can go into it. You probably know about like tenure in America. You know, like the teachers can do anything, damn near you know, murder and still have their job if they're tenured, right? But anyway, that I digress. What makes a good teacher? Um, I guess like first and foremost, like we talk about relationship, but you just gotta care about your work. You gotta put some respect on your own work, right? And so if you like me, like I used to stay after school all the time. When everyone's gone, you know I'm not trying to blow smoke up my horn, but like I would be the last person there, just because I didn't want to rush myself and I wanted to put in the work and be ready, right? So I guess like just if for other teachers out there, like you just got to have respect and pride in your own work. Um, know that you know maybe the school, the principal, your salary might not be indicative of that, but at least you know yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror, you know what kind of work you put in. Um, and if you get really good enough, you know, then you can go independent or you can find another co-founder um, to start up a place of your own if you really feel that you're that good, you know. Otherwise, like it's life is short. Um, depends on your spiritual belief, but you know, you only get one that you know of. So why do something that you might not take wholeheartedly pride into it? And so yeah, that would be my advice to young freshers that go out into the world.
Nice, nice. And what is it that you, one of the last questions before we bounce out of here, what is one of the things you like about teaching or what is something that you, yeah, why do you like teaching?
Okay, that's good. So yeah, just off the top of my dome, I'd say that the thing that I really relish the most is like satisfaction. What I mean by that is like there's something inside a human that when you see like the younger generations do well, it's just like so fulfilling and so like motivational to you, right? When you see like the kids develop, grow, become almost like young adults, you feel like you're doing something good for the human race. You know, I'm kind of a species. Is that what I'm saying? Like species, right? I'm pro-human, right? I think humans have a lot of flaw, but we can fix a lot of those flaws with our ingenuity, our compassion, our wisdom. And so, like when you can pass that down to the next generation uh, and see them objectively with metrics that they are doing well, it gets me up in the morning. Uh, It gets me through the tough days. And you know, I don't have any kids of my own, but I feel like they're my nieces and nephew. So yeah, when they look up to you and you look to them and there's that connection, what more can you ask for?
Hmm. Nice, nice. Yeah, it definitely is good to see your students growing and improving over time, and especially if you taught them for years and stuff like that, more Montessori style. Cool. Well, I guess that's kind of all the questions I had about this topic. Hopefully, we can get together again and maybe talk about some other stuff. We've known each other for years. And we kind of chat back and forth. We're in different cities in Vietnam, but we often kind of catch up. So we'll have to do this again, and maybe we'll talk about a different topic. Maybe shoot the shit about politics or something else, or just kind of talk about kind of weird stories in Vietnam, stuff like that. I'm sure we both have a few. But yeah, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
No, it's been fun, dude. Uh, your glow, your glow is like very evident.
Okay, nice, nice. All right, man. Well, thank you very much, and we will catch you next time. Peace.
Uh,